make a girl a promise. If you know you can't keep it. They let me pick. Did I ever tell you that? Choose whichever Spartan I wanted. You know me. I did my research, watched as you became the soldier we needed you to be. Like the others, you were strong and swift and brave. A natural leader. But you had something they didn't. Something no one saw.
Welcome to another Xbox Series podcast. Got the whole panel back together after missing Deadly Headley last week. I can't remember how to do a podcast. I'm not even sure if this is working. Are we live? Yeah, we're live. Thank you everyone for coming and joining us again. It should be a good show. Things are relatively quiet in Xbox worlds, but there's always tons of games to play, and there are a couple of good topics as well. Before we get into it, it's been a couple of weeks since we've had our Deadly Headley here. So Deadly Headley, tell us how you're doing. How you been?
Been a while. It has been a while. I'm doing really well. Last week I had a work party thing in London, which was really cool. It wasn't a wild one for me because I'm not much of a drinker. So I drove home, so it was quite a long evening in that respect. But yeah, it was a really good one. I missed the boys though, so I'm really glad to be back here and back podcasting. Feels good, feels right. You can tell that I was a little bit rusty coming back in because when you asked if we were live, I could have confirmed that with the echo that was in my ear. Because I forgot to mute the stream, which is a rookie mistake. And you'd think after, how many weeks are we now? 22? I'd know better than that. Just
You'd think,
awful.
but I make mistakes all the time. Like I say, we went into this and I couldn't remember what's going on, where I am, what kind of show this is, what the topic is, and then I remembered the only thing that I really talk about is games, so it's got to be the Xbox Series podcast, and we're going to be talking about that. I am getting slightly disturbed by Gamzly's face, but you know that's not that unusual. It's not even because of it's not even the way you are holding it. It's just your face. Why do we use cameras for this podcast? I don't know. It's a bit harsh, but it is what it is. Gamzly, I'm only joking. How are you doing?
My robot heart. That hurt me. That hurt me. I'm doing fantastic. It's good. It's good to be back, and as I said, it's nice to have Deadly back here and understand that The Last of Us is not an Xbox game. So, shout out to you, Deadly. Thank you for finally admitting it. Besides that, I'm having a wonderful week. Very, very busy, but still wonderful. So let's talk games. I'm ready to talk games.
Are you ready to talk games? Well, as you seem so keen and eager, I know Deadly Headley, you got 2 weeks of probably being too busy to play that much, but I'm sure you've got like a little bit in. But Gamzly's desperate. He's going to wet himself if he doesn't talk about some of these games. So Gamzly, give us one of them. What have you been playing?
Well, I'm going to keep this one brief. I've been playing Robin Hood. So that Robin Hood
new
game
one.
on Game Pass, yeah, that just dropped on PC, I believe. I'm not actually quite sure. I should have that information if it's actually on Xbox consoles. Did you guys see
I
if
just
it's on
assumed that it
actual Xbox
was.
consoles?
Yeah.
I
I've not tried to download it yet, so I don't actually know for sure.
Yeah, I'm playing on PC because I like to play that type of stuff on my handheld. It's not a very pretty game. It's not pretty at all, actually. It's borderline almost old school Skyrim graphics, but I've been really enjoying it, man. There's a lot to love about that game. There's an actual they try to structure it like an actual RPG. So there's some story, there's a in-depth skill tree. Like the skill tree is very nice. It's actually well crafted. Um the stuff you can do is very survival like so it's fundamentally a survival game, so you go around, you collect your woods, you collect your stone, you build your pickaxes, you build your torches, and then you use that stuff to go save people. And there's 4 regions that you're trying to kind of build reputations in, and when you get to a certain amount of reputation, you have to you get a main quest line to defeat the ruler of that region, and then when you take him out, you kind of liberate that region, and you complete that, and the whole goal is to kind of complete 4 regions, so take over 4 regions by giving to the poor, and building your reputation by defeat like helping villagers take on, like, I don't know, soldiers that aren't being very nice, or helping them collect wood or food or whatever. So you're just doing Robin Hood things to build up your reputation enough so that you could take on that region's kind of big boss, or whatever. I'm not even halfway through the first region. It's quite sizable and it's really fun, and I'm really intrigued by it. It's got its hooks in me. Uh it's fully voice acted, so that's pretty nice. That I mean, everything's voice acted, so it caught me off guard. And there's some cool mechanics, like whenever you put on an axe, everything that you can use the axe on will kind of have this subtle glow to it, so you're not wasting time looking for the thing you're trying to collect. There's even a hunt sense that when you activate, you can actually track quests or see the things around you that you don't have your harvest equipment on to see. So if you want to pick, I don't know, apples or something, you press that and you'll see some apples on the tree. You can go pick up the apples. So really well done, straight to the point. And yeah, there's even a slow mo like ability that you could go slow mo and then be precise with your aim. It doesn't last very long, but it's a nice addition to have because it doesn't really control very well, and that's the thing that's bothering me. Everything around it seems to be super awesome, but the camera panning constantly feels like on controller, because I'm playing on controller. Constantly feels like there's a lag, and I don't know how to. There's like an input lag. That's how terrible the camera movement is in this game. But yeah, I'm really enjoying that. So I'll start with that. Any questions?
Yeah, you described it as a survival game, and normally when I play a survival game, that means a lot of time picking up sticks and berries and not much
Yes.
else, because at that point I usually get bored of the game and move on to something else. I'm not really a survival kind of person. Does this one take very long to get you doing cool stuff?
No. No, it doesn't. Again, like I said, the whole like they built it more like an RPG than a survival game. The survival elements are more just to build your weapons, improve your weapons, build a tavern to, I don't know, get access to better food, stuff like that. Almost like No Rest for the Wicked, but not at all the same combat. It it's really fun. You're just going around building your reputation. As I said, you get to fighting right away. Like you go murder some people that are trying to like harm your village and so on and so on. So the fighting is almost, almost immediate. So yeah, once you dig into the meat, there's a lot of fun things to do. So yeah, hope that answers the question.
Definitely does answer my question. Deadly Headley, do you play survival games? Are you interested in this Robin Hood one?
You know what? It caught my eye, and I am interested. Whether or not that translates into me playing it, I'm not 100%. Purely because I think we've talked about this before with survival games demand quite a lot of your time. It's got to be sort of risk reward for me. But that said, when I have committed a lot of time to it, I really enjoyed Ark. Back when that came out, I think I played it roughly when it first came out on Xbox, but I remember really enjoying that. But yeah, it's not typically the kind of genre that I gravitate towards.
Mhm. Well, in that case, what have you been gravitating towards? What have you been playing this week?
Gravitating is the perfect segue word for this
Mhm.
because I have been back exploring the Starfield and I've really been enjoying myself there. It was kind of an understated announcement, I thought. They didn't really put too much focus on it, but one of the things that came with the June update for Starfield was a new quest line, a new faction that you could go and meet in the city of Aquila. And I had a really good time doing that. I'm not going to spoil anything, but they send you on a bounty hunting mission. They are the bounty hunting um, faction, and that was really really fun. I'm really really happy exploring in Starfield again. I've done quite a lot of. It's not quite turned into a bit of a collectathon, but I've done a lot more artifact collecting to try and get some LBRB stuff, and I'll leave it at that for anyone who hasn't delved too
Mhm.
deeply into Starfield. Um, but yeah, I've really been enjoying that. The 60 frames update definitely helps in terms of overall user experience. It's really comfortable to play. It's really enjoyable. Combat feels so much better than it did before now. Yeah, we're really really happy with Starfield.
Awesome. I've actually dabbled a little bit in survival games this week because I played a bit of Minecraft, one of the possibly the pioneer of the survival genre. It was Isla's birthday, and she insists on Minecraft every birthday, so we jumped on some Minecraft and played a bit of that. We've got a gaming Arcadia Minecraft realm up and running now. If anyone does still play that and wants to get involved, then that's an option. I still don't know if I like it. The survival genre for me overall, weirdly enough, the one that's come closest to kind of getting its hooks into me is Power World, because Power World has such a smooth incremental onboarding experience in the way that it directs you. Gives you enough freedom to do what you want, but gives you enough like objectives to keep you on course and get you to understand the mechanics of the game. Minecraft is not like that as far as I can tell. It just plonks you in the world and says good luck, and it's endearing for that in its own way. But I am not a person that understands Minecraft at all. I've never like I've made it an objective of mine because normally I go on there and it's like it'll be for Isla's birthday and I follow her around and like explore the world, look at it and go, oh, that's Minecraft, and never actually have a slightest clue what I'm doing and what's going on. So I've decided at some point in the next week or two, I'm going to go off into the wilderness, into a Minecraft forest, and forge a life for myself until I understand that game. Because it is
I did
like,
actually
despite being one of the
enjoy
first
Minecraft.
survival ones, it is more interesting than most.
Yeah. Yeah. It's surprising how much depth there is to it when you actually scratch at the surface with Minecraft. And again, it's not massively my kind of thing, but I remember giving it a fairly good go. I think it was largely playing on my own as well, but it's the survival mechanics are there, and actually when you start literally digging deeper, you do find some really interesting stuff. It's definitely worth playing for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right about Pal World and having a slightly easier ramp. Go on, Gamzly.
The survival thing is so weird to me because I really, we're all dragged to it. Like we all want to give it a shot. Every time a new one comes out, we're always intrigued. Um, it's just AAA developers just don't want to touch that genre. It's just a huge task to try to make it popular and sticky and have the story behind it and have the intrigue there. I think no like stuff a blend like Vampire Survivor is it Vampire Survivor? No. Oh my god, V Rising. Stuff like V Rising and No Rest for the Wicked that kind of blends the mechanic, but it's not its main focus, seems to be the way to go so far. And I just can't wait for an actual AAA developer to jump in realist and like pour all the resources. That's why I kind of am excited for State of Decay 3, even though it's not. Well, yeah, it's a sim, right? It's kind of a survival sim. So I can't wait for State of Decay 3. I think that has the biggest shot of making it big, or bigger than most of these things.
It's really unusual that massive publishers haven't chased this harder, because normally when you see something blow up in the indie space, there are too many AAA publishers that chase it. And you saw it with Battle Royales. It turned out only like 2 or 3 could survive, but everybody tried it. Everybody tried to cash in on that. And you see survival games, and they so consistently explode, particularly on the PC side of things. Because obviously Power World did its like 25 million people or whatever it was earlier this year. Power World has updates coming at the end of this month, so any day now to get the Xbox players on our server as well, which is good. But you see things like Enshrouded as well and Valheim. There's constantly these games that come out of nowhere from small indie developers that break the 1 million barrier and beyond. But they're also, like you say, they are sticky. They are games that can have like live service elements and support going forward. So it's really weird that obviously Blizzard were working on Odyssey, and they got acquired and they got shut down and disappeared forever for whatever reasons. We don't know
So
the
weird.
internals, but you'd think they'd be chasing it really hard, and they're just not.
I think the only reason why State of Decay 3 is even being made is because 2 is so sticky. They see the player base, they're going to put effort in it. But I really think the reason is because to make these things work and to make these games an actual thing, they're so massive in scale that I think third parties are just scared. Like, you're not going to see Sony dive into this genre. You're just not. It's too expensive. It's too much of a risk. You know what I mean?
Thing is, they nearly
It's
did
too much. Yeah, but
with
no, but
my
see,
favorite
it's not.
IP from them.
It's not the sad thing. I think they could have nailed it. It's just that it's
I
such a
agree.
momentous. It's such a big task that I don't think they like the quality control or whatever they saw. It's just so hard to put one of these out. Like,
That's
it's
the
just so
thing
hard.
with Microsoft specifically as well. Like, even if they don't get it right, and we've seen them not get it right, both as Microsoft and as Bethesda pre-acquisition, they do get it right eventually. They do have this legacy of being able to right the ship, get it in the right direction. The difficulty that Microsoft has is building a loyal player base that will stick with that, or a sizable loyal player base. I think they will have that to some degree. Halo's clearly still active, and it should be, because it's fucking 2.5 years old, 3.5 years old, something like that. Sea of Thieves is doing really well. Fallout 76 is doing really well. Diablo will continue to sort of move in the momentum that it already has, but with that specific fan base and Blizzard's following, it's a little bit of a different use case.
Yeah, it's definitely weird. It's just those were all made like not by well, except for Halo, but that's a spark in a bottle, right? But if you see a AAA developer, like, they haven't tried at all to make these things, like, at all. That when those were made, they were small dev teams looking to make something interesting and big. It's just, and it got hit, and then there's already a massive fan base that carries over for generations that keep buying 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. But in the survival genre, to do that as a new IP and break out is a huge risk, right? And I think the only thing that comes close to them trying is State of Decay 3, for the reasons I said earlier, is that State of Decay started small and not with the big publisher, right? So, yeah, it's interesting.
You know what, Gamzly? Last week when Deadly Headley wasn't here to keep us in order, we set the whole stream up with a thumbnail to talk about Elden Ring.
Don't do
and we didn't reference that game
Embarrassing.
a single
Chat.
time.
You see this? You see this last week? What happens when I'm not here? Embarrassing, lads.
Well, get your ass off the freaking Last of Us. You know what I mean? Just get off of that. So we need help. No.
So what happened? For those who weren't watching last week. What happened to
We had
the
a
headlines?
packed show. We had loads of topics. We had a good time. We flowed through conversation. We got to the end of the show. We closed the show off. We went to bed. We woke up scared in the middle of the night, going, something went wrong today. What was it? Oh, no. We were supposed to talk about Elden Ring and we completely forgot it. Everybody's playing Elden Ring. Everybody's talking about Elden Ring. We were not talking about Elden Ring when we promised that we would. We're going to rectify that right now because Gamzly is going to tell you all about his experience with Elden Ring.
You know, it's so funny you say that, Asa, because I re-listened for the timestamps, all right, for the podcast last week, and I set it up. I'm like, oh my god, you know, I'm in a fantasy mood, and I set it up with the D&D stuff, and I was gonna lead into, you know, Elden Ring and then Dark and Darker, but I went Dark and Darker first and forgot about Elden Ring. So I went with the setup, and it just backfired on me. Okay, so Elden Ring is the hottest thing on the planet, at the moment. 5 million. By the way, we're just gonna sneak this number in here. 5 million copies for a DLC pack.
Huge.
And how long was it out? Like 2 weeks or something like that. Around that, a week and a half. But yeah, gigantic. For FromSoft. That's huge. So congratulations to them. They nailed this stuff, man. And it just feels like they're just honing their craft and getting better and better. I adore this game. I played all of it through Steam. I got Mog, and I killed him. You have to kill 2 bosses actually to actually, you know, get to the thing, not just Mog. There is other excursions that you might have to do, and you might even miss all this stuff if you don't actually pay attention. So, Elden Ring players listening, make sure that you read things properly, go through the side quests, and you do all the things, all right, to get access to all this, or you're just going to completely miss Mog and other stuff. Mog is like a huge boss in Elden Ring. Okay, so I completed all that on Steam, and I don't have anything on Xbox. Like, I have nothing on Xbox. I don't have a save file on Xbox, sadly. So what I was gonna do is play through the whole entire thing again, and then do the X pack. But I got FOMO, and Asa, like, I wanted to stream that. So I wanted to I wanted to double setup. I wanted my hands like being watched. So I was gonna put a camera on my hand, and then one on my face. I don't know. Figure it out. But I was gonna do that whole thing and then start streaming it and go through it and do all that good stuff. But we haven't set up the stream yet. I'm just too busy. So I was like, I'm getting the FOMO. I gotta jump in. So I jumped in on my Steam account. I when you step through that, when you go through the tutorial, listen, the tutorial boss of this DLC. So like the very first thing you're gonna fight is so much fun, and probably the highlight. If this entrance was a boss, like a final boss in a real game, like any other game, it would be one of the best, in my opinion. So it just starts you off very well. And then you realize very quickly that your character means nothing, right? Your level is soft resetted. They do that trope. They kick your butt in the beginning to tell you you're nothing. And you're like, oh no. And immediately you're filled with dread. And then you go around and get your ass kicked by a naked dude just wandering the shadows. All right. And you're like, oh my God, I hate this. But then you pick up your first item, your first ashes, and your first relic. And then you quickly realize that the whole point of this is to go around the map and regain your power, regain your stats. So what this does, there's like 10 or 20 of these relics and shadow things, and you go around, and every time you pick it up, your character and your summons and stuff will get 5-ish% better. And then you stack them on top of each other, and then you're finally, when you find enough, you're at full power. People have been going through it without actually collecting much of those, so that's why they can't beat anything. They're just getting raffle stomped by every creature. But yeah, once you could get, a few of these things and remember that the whole point of Elden Ring is actually exploring, you're going to have a blast with this game. Just don't go in there thinking you're going to three-shot everything because you're level 700. You got to go in there like it's Elden Ring, like you're level 1. You're going to have a blast of a time. I think the first official boss that I took down was this like piranha plant thing. And this freaking plant, dude, or not one of the bosses, pretty sure. The piranha plant, dude, this thing just kicked my ass and it's the funnest thing I've ever experienced. They have some really cool bosses here. They have tons of new weapons. I actually respect, and don't worry, you need an item or a thingy to respect, but you find quite a few of them in the Land of Shadows. So you again just explore, and you'll find these things to respec. I switched my spec from a samurai sword to claws, and I'm actually just doing claw spec, and it's the worst possible thing I could have done because apparently heavy weapons right now are the the meta to follow. But I just like getting my head bashed in apparently. So yeah, I'm dual wielding claws, and it's just amazing, dude. I have nothing but glowing things to say about this game. It really does, man, it really just makes you smile. Hate yourself at first, but smile most of the time after. I can't wait. Did you guys hop into this or Elden Ring again, or not even the DLC, but did you like retry to step into the
So,
realm?
I know that you're not an Elden Ringer, are you, Headley?
It's not that I'm not. It's just that I'm not yet because I haven't had the opportunity to. So I'm not opposed to playing it. I just haven't.
Yeah, it's all right. I wasn't calling you chicken. Like, all right, you're too scared to play it.
That's fine.
It's all right.
Just want to clarify. That's really important. Find distinction between being a fucking coward and just not having the time. And I'm very much in the latter. Again, reiterating that one. Crack on.
Time is harder to find than bravery. That is true. I'm fairly immune to FOMO myself, so I've not jumped into it yet. I've not finished Elden Ring. I got about 50 hours into it. I've mentioned this before. My whole playthrough of Elden Ring, I was loving playing the game, and then I saw a weapon that I really wanted, and I got that weapon, but I didn't have the specs to use it. So I did grinding for a long time to completely respec from I was strength and faith, and I needed dexterity to use this weapon. Did hours and hours and hours of grinding for it, got this weapon, was like, woohoo, this is the best, I love this weapon. It's not technically a good weapon or like a part of the metagame success thing, but I stylistically enjoyed it. Like, this is my weapon, I'm happy.
Which one?
It's a 3-headed flail from a horse guy. So
okay, cool.
Yeah, I just like flails in games because they're quite unusual. And I got that, and then I used it for a little bit, and I was like, I can't remember what I'm supposed to be doing, and I've got no gear or build objective. And I just fell off the game at that point, deciding I'm going to come back to it later. The DLC came out, and I see everyone playing it, and I see how everyone's talking about it and loving it, and I know that I need to play it at some point, but I have resolved to finish Dragon's Dogma 2 first, because otherwise I won't get back to Dragon's Dogma 2. So I want to finish that. Maybe Cyberpunk and Starfield, but definitely Dragon's Dogma 2, and then I'm going to jump back on Elden Ring, finish up the campaign, and do the DLC.
Oh, man.
I forgot about Cyberpunk.
Dude,
Yeah.
you could talk. You could talk about it.
I still haven't finished Baldur's Gate 3.
That's a long one too. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel bad for you because I actually feel bad. I feel bad for some Elden Ring fans. There's one thing that I wish they actually did tell you, and that's how to respec. Because most people don't understand how to respec. They don't understand that you actually need to beat the second boss in the academy, like the official second lord in the academy. So you got to go to the Magic Academy and face that wizard chick in the room and all that stuff, and unlock something. And then when you kill her, it automatically unlocks, and then you could go to the thing, the egg, I think, or I don't know what it was, I forgot. And then you go click on it, and then you could respec your stuff with that item that I'm talking about. And to even find those items are funny because they disguise themselves like they're shapeshifters most of the times, or this thing drops from those. And there's one really close to you, Asa. There's one really close to you. All you had to do was kill that boss, and then like find this magical beast that drops this thing, and then you could have respect it without like spending hours on that. But that's one thing I wish they did tell you though, because it's
No, I
such
didn't
an
want to
important
respec.
part of the game.
I was quite happy to grind.
No.
Like, I didn't feel like I was far enough into it that,
Oh, okay.
changing my stats up was a problem. I enjoyed the grind to get the weapon that I wanted, to be honest. And my understanding of it, and I could be completely wrong, but my understanding at that point in time was that you only get like one opportunity, maybe two, to respec throughout the game. It's a rare treat to use at end game if you feel like playing around, rather than something to use at the point that I was at in the game.
Yeah. But it's still, it is a thing that's a little bit that I wish they kind of allowed you to, well, not allowed themselves to kind of tell you, because it isn't like, for a lot of people it's important. They like, the whole thing is exploring, right? So when you're exploring and you're finding all these weapons and you're like, oh my god, which one do I want? And then you go deep into it. Maybe like a lot of people didn't even face that boss, right? So you're going through so much of this game with an idea in your head, but you can't switch because your stats stuck. It would be nice to know how to respec and that, where it is. But yeah, anyways, yeah, I freaking love this game. I have almost nothing bad to say about it. Almost nothing. 99.99% good stuff, except for that one detail.
Fair enough.
Bearing in mind, do you mind if I jump in?
No, go for it.
I was just going to say, bearing in mind, I haven't played any Souls like at length ever, and I'd be going in completely fresh to Elden Ring. Can you give us an expectation of how long you reckon it might take me to finish the base game, or is that really how long is a piece of string?
Honestly, Deadly, like my brother, my second, not the one that I usually play games with, my older brother, the oldest, he doesn't play games at all. He got freaking obsessed with this game for 80 hours. All right. He did one Elden Lord, just one. All right. And then he went exploring the map, all that stuff, didn't face the big bosses, just the minis and the half bosses. And he was content with dropping it and leaving, and he had a full experience, and he loved it, dude. He loved it. You don't have to roll credits on this game. You just got to experience the thing. And he went back recently for the DLC and completed the rest of it. So nice. It's you just jump in there, man. And word of advice: don't don't play this like a boss rush game where you go in and bash your head against the wall and kill bosses. Play this like a JRPG. Go around, hit a thing. If it's too powerful, run away, kill things that you could kill easily, level up your character really heavily, pick a spec, and over-level yourself. Do that. Just play it like a Pokemon game or something. No, I don't. Don't at me with that. I'm not Pokemon.
No,
go do a JRPG thing.
That's how I'd play a Pokemon game. I don't play RPGs, but that is how I play Pokemon. So yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. And it rewards you for it because I'm being real with you. The first boss that you get to, Margit, okay, the big dude in the castle, you get to him and he beats your face into the ground forever until and that's their way of showing you that you can't just beat your head, you can't just overthrow them so easily. I had a story that I tried to do that until it happened. I died like 35 times or something, and I finally killed him. And then I had decided, you know what, I'm going to explore and do the thing. And I hear that I could use these these little ores that you find in caves, specific caves, and to upgrade your weapons. And I wasn't even doing that. I had a level 1 weapon. So I found the first one, and on the way to find the first mine, I found another cave near an entrance of the river where you pass the first dragon that that appears in the trailer. You pass that dragon, you just run away from it, and you get to this cave, and there's a mini boss that pops out, He's like, ah, and you kill him, and then a merchant unlocks in that cave next to him, and he sells a freaking item that legitly helps you destroy and demolish that first boss.
Nice.
So
Legit.
earlier, I
Legit.
said that time was harder to come across than bravery. Apparently, I was wrong because Gamzly plays like a coward and runs away from everything. Now we've established that, got all of the time to go and grind, runs away from the dragons. Now that we've established that,
What the don't. Oh, are you?
oh,
You know what?
Mm.
Fuck off. All right. I love you. I love you. I'm not gonna start shit with you, Asa. You know?
No, I know because you're a
Not gonna start
coward.
shit.
Let's let's do. No, actually, Gabs, you got another game,
Not
haven't you?
speaking
Deadly
anymore.
Headley. Have you played anything else over the time that you've been away?
I briefly jumped back into Hellblade 2, but I need to finish it. I think you guys might remember me saying I finished Hellblade 1 and loved it. So yeah, Hellblade 2 is something that I really need to wind up so that we can actually do our spoiler cast show, assuming that we're still going to do that. Which we probably should. That sounds fun. Little bit of Halo, but not a lot. I think that's it. Yeah.
No, fair enough. Gamzly, did you have any more?
You hold on. No. Oh, no. No, I've been playing some Keplerth. That was awesome. Oh, hold on. Elden Ring. Guys, sorry, what is it? Ghost Flame Dragon in the Erd Tree expansion. All right. Replicant, you know what I mean if you're in there. All the other dudes. What a crazy cool dragon. One of the coolest dragons in any game, period. So awesome. I hope you get to it. Play the freaking DLC. I could talk about this game for 5 hours, Asa, so please get me off. Keplerth. I've been dabbling in this game still that I was playing it last week. It's this little
I'm
survival.
just going to breeze past that request. Oh, he Gamzly, sorry.
Yes.
we did.
It's almost as bad as Ace's entrance to the green room.
So yes, Keplerth is this little cool survival game that Asa, doesn't. He thought looked disgusting and ugly and pathetic, but I find it very fun. So I put in about 5 more hours in that game, and I'm like almost like really decked out with really cool sci-fi gear, and I'm killing things a lot faster, and I'm doing mini bosses, and I'm building my little village. It's a cute game on Game Pass. Does do multiplayer very easily. So yeah, jump in there and have fun, or at least give it a try, guys. On PC only, I believe. So yeah, I've been playing that some more, and League of Legends. We don't have to talk about that, do we, Asa?
We don't.
You coward. Fucker.
I played that game with you.
But
That
we're
was
done.
pretty brave of me, I would say.
Yeah, we won 5 straight. You never showed up again.
You're welcome. Yeah.
But you know what? Forget it.
Right, let's do
Final
our
Fantasy,
topics.
whatever.
All of them. I will do.
Before we jump into the topics, we should very briefly do a little bit of housekeeping. And that is just to ask everybody to make sure that they like and subscribe because it helps us grow the channel. If you're new, especially, make sure that you're subscribed to the channel so that you see the show again. And if you want to share it out with anybody else who you think might enjoy it, please do that as well.
Yeah, good housekeeping.
We also have some stuff that we sell.
Yes, and some stuff that we don't.
Right.
It's just, there's if you're on YouTube, there is a store link. There is some nice stuff on there, and take a look at it if you get some time and fancy some new stylish attire. Topics.
Hold on. No, you're not gonna run away from that. Asa sells his underwear there too, if you want to.
I do, and this mug.
It smells like shit.
Thank you for the interjection, Gamzly. That was very helpful. On to the topics. Have I got a bad left eye? I do, episode 13. I do. I've not been punched or anything like that. Just a mild
just smelling himself.
bad eye. From
got that
smelling myself.
gonorrhea.
Yeah,
Wait, that's
okay.
not it.
No, Gamzly. I've heard him, you see. He's lashing out. It was to be expected. So, there's been some stuff going around in the Xbox world today. Earlier in the afternoon, they officially announced that they are bringing the Xbox cloud streaming through Game Pass onto Amazon Fire Sticks. Kind of a big deal when you look at the history and the plans that Xbox had around their Keystone device that was supposed to be Xbox's own brand streaming box to stick under your TV, nice and cheap, goes under there, you stream your games, you play them on your TV, and everybody has a wonderful time. That fell through because Microsoft couldn't get it to be cost effective or well positioned against their actual consoles. But you can see why when you look at the price of these Amazon Fire Sticks. So the service is available on, I think it's a 4K and a 4K Max, but they cost, I only saw the dollar prices, but they're like $40, $50 to get these things. And then you've got...
so it's the 2023 versions only. So I have a 4K stick, but it is not a 2023 one. Which I'm a little bit sad about because I was quite excited about that briefly until I realized that my Fire Stick was a year too old. But they're about 50 quid and 60 quid respectively, depending on whether you go for the regular 4K one or the 4K Max.
So with that though, so I've got my opinion on it and whether it's like significant or not, but let's hear what you're thinking. So Headley, you've looked into this, you've looked into it for your own sake because you've got a Fire Stick, but what do you think? Do you think this makes a big difference in the gaming world?
So this is an interesting one. I'm glad that this topic has come up because I think anybody who has been watching since the first episode may know that this is something that I've somewhat been advocating for, more specifically Xbox going in with a cloud-based box. It's a shame that they couldn't get it to do the right thing for the right price, but obviously that's really important when it comes to bringing a product to market. And I think the article, I want to say, called out that they couldn't get it to under $100. It shouldn't be more than that, because I think you then start asking too much of a player. Essentially, $100 is a game and a half to anybody who's on any other system, and you want to make sure that you can keep that positioning as accessible as possible. Where the news then becomes a little bit, it's interesting but frustrating. Frustrating first and foremost, I think, because again, with someone like me, I've got a fairly new Fire Stick, but it's not quite new enough, and that's quite annoying because I don't really want to buy another Fire Stick, but I'm tempted to in order to be able to make the most of that. I also looked into it a little bit more because obviously this is all cloud based, so we have to bear in mind that it's largely going to hinge on both up and down for your internet connection, right? Not just down, but it's
mostly down, but
it's
yeah,
going to play a huge factor as well. Okay, so I've got good internet speeds here. I've got 300 meg down and about 10% of that up, which actually, when you're uploading for most purposes, is actually still relatively quick. I also, because I live in quite a newly built home, I was quite fortunate enough to be able to tell the builders where I wanted Cat 5e cables built into the walls. So then the other thing that I've looked at is Amazon actually make a USB-C to, or Ethernet to USB-C adapter. So hypothetically, I could buy a 4K Max stick for 60 quid. The Ethernet adapter on top of that is about 15, so we're looking at 75. Yeah, call it 75 quid plus an Ethernet cable, so call that 80 quid. At that point, if I double that, I've got most of what I need for a Series S, which will do the job a hell of a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit of a weird one. There's pros and cons.
So for you specifically, though, so you're looking at this device. You've obviously got an Xbox console. Are you looking at this because you want it in like another screen in your house, or what's
bedroom
your use
TV
case?
specifically? It just, I don't like playing video games in my room. But you know, having the option is nice. We don't really use the TV much in that room either, but it's when we do, it's quite nice. If we're using the TV, obviously we're using an Amazon Fire Stick, because the TV doesn't have smart capabilities built in. So really, the thing that I'm looking at is whether or not it's worth the effort and the rigmarole to upgrade a Fire Stick, as opposed to get a really small Series S that would fit actually quite nicely and fairly inoffensively in that same space in the room and give us a much better performance. It's an interesting one.
Mhm.
I'm excited that this is happening because I think it's important to try and bring your offering to more people. And buying a Fire Stick, if I was to go down that route, and I did specifically want to use a smart TV, and I specifically also didn't want to fork out I want to say 200 quid, give or take, for a Series S. I can't actually remember how much they are. But I know they're not excruciatingly expensive, but obviously it's not nearly as cheap as buying a Fire Stick. Um, it's an interesting offer. I want to try it out. I'm glad that it's happening because I think, like I said, and like I have been advocating for, you bring Game Pass and game streaming to new people that don't necessarily want the upfront cost of either 100 quid on a Project Keystone or 200 quid on a Series S. If anyone that I know has got a recent Fire Stick, this is something that I would recommend to them, because the entry cost, if you've already got the hardware, is minimal, and that's a really good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Gamzly,
Can I? Yes.
you must
Okay.
apologize for some of the things that you've
So,
said. No, go on.
never.
You
So-
Last of Us hater, you.
He started it. Freaking robots. Okay. So, yeah, all of this makes complete sense, right? For 5-ish years, I mean, Xbox has been touting this, when everybody plays, we all win, go to the players, go to them. There's 200 million Fire Stick users. 200 million. That's just it. You go to those players. There's people in VR. You go to those players. Put your product everywhere. They're trying to be everywhere, and this is part of that, and it's obvious. And in the places that make gaming gigantic, in the countries that gaming is pushed very heavily, and there's more, most players, they're in these big cities and all that good stuff. They have the luxury to buy games, so that's who they're targeting. And usually when all the big tech, every company is doing the thing, it usually takes off at some point. So the fact that people have been in cloud literally in every other medium, whether it's tools for work or music or video or, I don't know, the streaming your movies and stuff like that, that it's all taken off. Everything. Office, all the things have taken off. There's no reason why gaming shouldn't at some point, as bandwidth and as all this stuff gets better and more affordable, which it does over time in these areas that make gaming big, there's no reason why this won't explode, and they know that, and they have a service to do it, and that's their mission, and I think they're gonna nail it. I think they're gonna nail it. It's just a matter of time. And I play cloud. I play cloud more and more and more every year, just for the simple fact that I started with terrible internet, and now it's affordable enough that my phone could do it very easily, and I am playing more often than ever, even on my phone. So, yeah, I see the value in it.
So you've touched on two sides of that there. First one for me, I don't think this will do much in and of itself. You mentioned the 200 million people with Fire Sticks. We've already whittled that down though to 200 million people. How many of them are the 2023 editions of the 4K Fire Stick? Much smaller number. But the real kicker is that you need a Bluetooth controller to connect to this thing in order to play games. The audience of people that have a Bluetooth games controller and don't have a games console is minuscule, right? Like you drastically shrunk the number of people that are going to be interested in gaming on a Fire Stick down to people that are already interested in gaming and already have hardware to play games on. So that's not entirely negligible, but it's a very different conversation to we've just brought Xbox to 200 million people. And the use cases that I see being more likely to actually take off are what you were saying there about, because you're on your phone and you're on all these other things, your engagement time is high. You're already a person that plays games, you've already got hardware, but you've got this stuff being brought to you in more places. And engagement is valuable. Keeping you connected and playing in more places, more rooms, more screens is good. But I don't think adoption is going to be very high. And the other thing that's going to hold it back, to me, from like in my mind, is Xbox Cloud streaming. I think it's passable on a small screen. It is not good enough for a TV, in my opinion. And I know, like, I'm a nerd that buys fancy hardware and tries to make things look as good as possible. And different people have very different like levels of tolerance for compression, artifacts, resolutions, and all the rest of it. But broadly, it's not a brilliant experience to play, particularly wirelessly, Xbox Cloud streaming on a big screen. It's kind of ugly. And I think that will hold it back. At least for the foreseeable.
So how I'm looking at it, and this is just so you bring up a good point, right? The who has a Fire Stick and who has a controller in the right circumstances is very small, right? If you have a controller, you're right. You probably have this big TV. I mean, this console or a PC, right? That's what you probably have. But remember, this is a ridiculously long game, and usually when companies are pushing something, it succeeds. If you look at freaking, again, what I just mentioned, streaming services in general, or I don't know, removing your AUX cable from your phone, or even touch screen instead of keyboard on your phone. When big companies push, usually those territories go in it and they adopt it. But it just takes some time. We're getting older, so we're in our 30s. So the people with controllers that are buying controllers are now having kids, right? Those kids are now very susceptible to, all what they want to play on all screens. So they know, Xbox knows they got to be on all the screens, right? So they know, they're very aware of that stuff. And us as parents, what we're going to do, right? We're going to teach them, well, here's a controller, well, I have a controller, play it. And then we're going to buy them a controller. And then they're going to have their own controller in their own room on their own device playing the thing. And they're really betting on that. They're betting on the next gen of us. And they're really trying to be in our face as much as possible. And cloud is going to happen. And it's just, and one day you're going to boot up that screen and it's going to look incredible no matter what screen you turn on, because speeds are going to get ridiculous. We're not done getting faster. So I already can't really tell on some games, except for when I'm on my Android phone, but they're targeting freaking people in their homes. It's going to be a premium experience one day. So I don't know. I just find it hard, like the percentage wise. I can't stand on one end where, mostly in history, the things have been adopted at some point. If we're talking about Stadia and we're talking about that failure, or we're talking about the failure of, I don't know,
There's a couple
there's
of
a difference.
things.
There's a difference, right? There's a difference between those failures and Xbox. Like all the major parties are doing this. So
There's a couple of
sort of
differentiating factors that I think need to be acknowledged. I can see like a lot of sort of naysaying and doom and gloom and talk of sort of devaluing and it being a waste of time and all that sort of stuff in the chat. And I think it's really important to note that Xbox is kind of playing the different strokes for different folks game. It's more interested in getting more visibility in more places to more people than it is just shifting console hardware, which it already knows is doing really well. because we've heard Phil Spencer say in the last couple of weeks at the whole showcase season, we've got more console users than we've ever had. Like they're happy with how it's growing. It's okay. Them going to Fire Sticks, yeah, they're probably not catering to the same kind of audience that we are. That doesn't that we sit in. That doesn't matter. They might be catering to somebody's kids because there is a game section on the Fire Stick. It's kind of I haven't really delved into it, but I can see that I could go and play Fortnite on the Fire Stick that I have, not even necessarily one of the most recent ones. I don't know how it runs because I'm not interested in playing Fortnite, but there is someone that exists in this world that is interested in doing that because they don't care about how the game performs. They just want to play it in a different place to where they can currently play it.
And Xbox is building games that are good on everything. Like
It's
or
also putting
specific
visibility.
games. Yes.
It's also putting the visibility of the Xbox brand and the Xbox product offering in a new place. That goes back to something that we've talked about before when we talk about marketing on this podcast, that in order to grow the platform, you have to start showing it to different people in different places. So if you are using a Fire Stick and you're browsing the games section because you're interested in what's there and you see Xbox is there, the first thing that is going to go into a user's head is, hold on a minute, why is Xbox here? Xbox is a console. What's this? You start delving into it, you then get the proposition of Game Pass. It's a very different entry point into how advertising works on something like social media or TV, for example, because you've got to gather someone's attention very, very quickly. And this is something that Xbox have continually struggled with to hammer home, in that the product offering for Game Pass, for some reason, seems to be too complicated to offer in a 15-second advert, even though it's not. It's fucking simple. It's Blockbuster, but better. Sort of. But not really. Maybe it needs more work.
Yeah. And one last thing, like everything's going to open platforms, right? They're trying to open every single platform. It's going to happen regardless, right? So better for us, yay for us. Xbox wants to be there. They're preemptively striking in every way possible. They're trying to be everywhere first with a better product and the best product. And Game Pass needs to be everywhere, and they're going to do that. They're going to push it. That's their end game, the goal that might not be adopted, but it has to be everywhere. They have to build the infrastructure. They have to be there, as well as don't discount that, one day they're going to maybe launch a store with, small game apps that will launch from cloud that will also be launchable from these places like Fire Stick. Like it will be a thing at some point, and we're gonna be fine. Maybe it doesn't, we don't care, but they do. And the whole point is that I think, and I'll end it here, I think that it's a good idea. I don't care either way. It's just a fact. It's a good idea.
It's not
right?
gonna change.
It's a good idea. Game. It's not gonna. For now,
it's not going to change the game, but they're not trying to. They're just trying to get it to more people.
Exactly.
That's it. It's just a more MAU.
It's a good move, and it's especially a good move to kind of, fend off other people. Amazon is supposed to be against them, So, yeah.
And existing users, that's a really cool move. It's a really, really cool move.
Yeah.
If, like we talked about at the start of this discussion, annoyingly, my Fire Stick isn't quite new enough. And again, that's frustrating because I'm kind of, come on. Figure it out, please. Just figure it out. You're already offering games. Why can't you offer these games? That annoys me. That aside, I already fit into both categories. In that Venn diagram of people who own a Fire Stick and people who play Xbox a lot, I sit squarely in the middle of that. So for me, as a consumer, this is a really nice option that other gaming providers aren't giving me, not in the same way and not to the same value. Can you imagine if PlayStation tomorrow went, fuck it, we're going to do the same thing and you don't even need a console anymore? People would lose their shit because they could go and play PlayStation games on an Amazon Fire Stick. Like, it's a good thing.
It's worth as well.
It's going to be fine.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to have a massive impact for the reasons that I've already kind of gone into. But at the same time, if you look at it in terms of whether it's a right or a wrong decision, there's not a lot wrong in it. It's not going to be a massively costly endeavor. It's like if it all flops, it's not going to harm the Xbox brand in any particular way. There's no massive detriment from Microsoft's perspective from doing this, even if they only manage to get a small slice of users out of it. It is a low risk kind of partnership. It is a sensible partnership. It just is another option for people to get into the ecosystem. And like you said, there were people in chat. There's some people in chat, and more so, not so much here, but across social media, there is a little kind of troll movement that it makes the console useless, and Microsoft's messaging is terrible because they're telling you don't need a console. A lot of what Microsoft does inherently devalues the console. Putting games on PC gives you less reason to get a console. It absolutely does, but it doesn't devalue the platform. It increases the value of the platform. It increases the number of people that are coming to it. And it's the same for the Fire Stick. So you can say, even though I think it's marginal, the impact, you can say maybe that devalues the console. Maybe there's like a really small subsection of people out there that would have bought an Xbox console and now they don't need to. That's not a massive concern. It's not gonna, I mean, anything that is running on that Fire Stick is coded for an Xbox. It's coming to the Xbox, so it's not going to do them any harm whatsoever. It's not going to mean you don't get your third-party support because the platform is growing. So it's kind of low risk either way, as far as I'm concerned. If anything, it just means that the next consoles are going to have to prove their worth in more enticing ways than just being the only way that you can play certain games, and that's not necessarily a bad thing.
To that low risk point, there would be higher risk in the solution that I've been advocating for, which is Project Keystone. That's significantly higher risk in terms of cost. This is a much lower cost option. So yeah, it's a really good point about it being low risk, because it's more sensible than gambling on hardware that people might not buy. Yeah.
But it does mean working with the enemy,
the R&D that would go into that. It's already cost them money. They can't spend any more money on it. That's why they've gone, we're not going to launch it. We're going to do this instead.
The most kind of remarkable thing about it is Amazon are like legitimately the enemy. And if you look at when Microsoft were trying to get the whole ABK stuff over the line and they were offering out Call of Duty deals to everyone, they did not make a deal with Amazon to put Call of Duty on Luna. And that was like, this is how you could look at Microsoft's kind of strategic maneuvers and see who they were actually worried about. Amazon are the enemy. So it's an interesting partnership in that regard.
That's a strong move. But also, just one person in chat. I'm sorry, Asa. Look, JJ. But it was always like their main point at the moment is Game Pass, right? We can all agree that they're trying to build their ecosystem on Game Pass. Whatever you read from big news, it's a thing. That's what they're trying to push in the umbrella, right? They were always gonna go and focus on cloud at some point. Cloud is an extension that they're hoping makes big, but they're putting money and effort. They put a lot of infrastructure in it. They believe it. It's gonna happen. Everything they do is cloud. Everything. So it was always a focus. It was never not a focus. It is a focus, but it's like an electoral candidate, right? You put him in office. What's his list look like? Freedom 1, not Freedom 10, or I don't know. It depends where it drops on the list, but it's always a priority for them. You can count on that, and don't listen to weirdos saying otherwise. But yeah, that cloud is a thing. They're going to push it. This is maybe a little tiny push, but they're going to continue to push it as they grow.
I do think that there is potential for that to come full circle, and for at some point they'll look at gaming as a commodity and as a consumer activity and go, oh, do you know what's better than us running games is people running it on their own hardware with their own electricity and their own bandwidth. That's actually quite an ideal situation for Microsoft as a corporation. So the cloud thing does have it's not like a 100% guaranteed future. Everyone's been seeing it and calling it for the last 20 years or so as an inevitability, but at the same time local hardware gets better and better and better. And if your TV could run Halo natively, then Microsoft would be in a position where they'd be like, well, actually, we could run it on that chipset, that electricity that you've got in front of you, rather than us doing it on the cloud. And actually, that's going to be a two-pronged assault and see where the dust settles. I wouldn't say there's any inevitability in terms of which one is gonna come out on top. That's a hard one to call
Well,
at this point. But
yeah, you know what, Asa? 100 years or 10, it's gonna happen. You're welcome. I'll see you when I'm dead. Or actually a robot.
Either way, they will
I
be there.
hope that we start
Yeah.
seeing better cloud optimization from Xbox, because you're right, it could be better. I've used it historically; it has been tolerable, and that includes playing party animals via a 4G connection in the barbers while I'm waiting to get my beard trimmed. But it's
Awful
not
choice.
amazing.
You could have played something fun. Party Animals is like
Yeah.
multiplayer as well.
I chose
Did
to
you play
play. I
single
chose
player
to play
Party
something that
Animals?
was low demanding. Yeah, I loaded
Fight,
it with
minions,
bots.
fight.
It was kind of just wanted to see how well it performed. But I've also noticed that the more demanding the game, the experience gets bad significantly quickly. So I am looking at this with some degree of caution, because although I've got good internet, although I'm largely willing to upgrade my Fire Stick to give it a go, want to hear real world use cases before I actually take that plunge. And again, is it worth me just getting a Series S instead, and if fitting it in that space? Because that my experience will be infinitely better. The
Well,
thing that
Deadly.
changes is the convenience of cloud streaming
Dead.
and the novelty that comes with that. Go on.
Yeah, Deadly. Look, the people that have the Fire Stick and that are like, oh my god, my kid's interested in this game or whatever. Or I'm kind of interested in this sort of thing. I don't know. Hellblade tickles my pickle, and I'm not really a gamer, right? When they see the Fire Stick, right? And they say, well, that looks interesting. You think they're gonna go buy a Series S because it costs? I mean, it's better because it's native. They don't give a shit. They're probably against it in the first place. If they haven't bought into a gaming thing, they're not gonna get it. So you entice those people and those platforms to say, okay, well, it's here. My kid likes a game. Okay, boop. You press a button, and you're old. They're a little old school, or they're not gamers. Like, those people exist that they're just not gamers and won't buy a gaming box. Period. So having these things in those places where these people live is enticing at some point for them or their kids. So yeah, that's the use case mostly I'm thinking of, and I'm sure they're thinking about it too. So anyway,
There is there's two other thoughts that have come to mind, and I'd say those only because I've had a quick skim through the press release that Amazon put out alongside Xbox. First of all, one of the callouts in this article is that the Fire Stick, quoting directly from Amazon here, the Fire TV Stick may be compact, but it can stream and run graphically intense Xbox games like Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. I don't know how well it's going to run Senua's Saga Hellblade 2, but it's claiming that it can, so we're going to go with it.
Just clarity on that, because there are people that are confused on what it means, where it's cloud streaming, and whether how demanding the game is actually makes a difference to the cloud streaming experience. In theory, it shouldn't. In theory, that's running on server-based hardware, and a more demanding game shouldn't be any more demanding on your internet connection. Like, a high motion could mean more compression artifacts and things like that, but it shouldn't be. The kicker that is causing this perception is that most of the time when you play on Xbox Cloud Service, you get a Series S as your base hardware. And as we know, some games are not massively well optimized for a Series S. So Abjar was saying in there about Remnant 2. Remnant 2 is a massively demanding game and just doesn't run very well natively on a Series S. So if you play that on xCloud, it's not going to run well because natively it's not running very well. So it's not so much that the cloud service and your internet connection and your bandwidth aren't good enough. It's not that the Fire Stick is going to struggle with that game. It is that game is just not running that well on the Series S hardware. So it can potentially do anything. It can play Hellblade 2 at a nice fidelity in theory.
Okay. The other quick point that I wanted to raise, and this is less related to the app specifically, or the Fire Stick, is the Xbox app arrives on Fire TV devices just in time for Fallout fans to fully immerse themselves in the celebrated post-apocalyptic franchise. In addition to being able to play fan favorites like Fallout 4 and Fallout 76 through the cloud on select Fire TV devices, they can now dive into the widely acclaimed Fallout TV series that premiered on Prime Video in April. That potentially, and it will be subject to marketing money changing hands, means that Xbox could take full advantage of Fallout's popularity and direct people to more Fallout stuff via a Fallout hero. Oh, sorry, a Fallout hero image of some kind. I don't know. It probably won't work. Again, grubby deals will have to be made from a money marketing perspective. But it opens up an avenue that Xbox could potentially consider or explore if they wanted to, that they couldn't before.
Mhm.
Mm,
Yeah. Gamzly, you got anything else on this one?
no, no, I think we went quite long on it. It was a good conversation. Yeah, I'll close with again, I think it's a good idea. And nothing could really hurt them at this point, especially when they're kind of infiltrating their enemies slowly every chance they get. But yeah, I'm sure if they could, they would be putting that shit on everything, even PlayStation. So yeah, good for them.
I was gonna one final note. The missing piece of the puzzle for cloud adoption to become really like broad and reach new people and new audiences is Connect. If they'd managed to maintain that technology, if they'd got that integrated into TV so that people didn't need a Bluetooth controller, then they'd explode. Sadly,
Oh my God,
Connect.
the
Yeah.
latency on that. Can you
Oh
imagine?
yeah,
A Connect game via cloud would be horrific.
you could make things work. You could reach new audiences with that you cannot reach with a
Yeah.
Bluetooth controller.
Could you mute him?
Guarantee it.
Please mute him. God, please.
You don't think
I'll
so?
give you $50.
Nah, you could.
$50.
Sure of it. Anyway, let's move on to Gamzly's quickfire news.
Okay, let's do that. Okay. Cool. Oh my god, it's already 4:18. That's crazy. Okay. So, let's start with some numbers. On the top I mentioned that Erdtree is one of the most successful DLCs with 5 million sold. That's really cool. We talked about it. This one blew my mind and it's kind of fun. Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy reaches 20 million sales after 7 years. That's a long time, but 20 million? 20 million is a lot. That's a lot. That
A lot of people having a
sh-
terrible time with that terrible game series.
Yeah, please burn it. You know, I was having fun with Paris Lily or something. I don't know who on some podcast. I was talking so much crap about this game, and then this comes out the next day, 20 million sales. I was like, what? Anyway. So that was fun. Anything to say about this, guys?
I think I've said enough.
Yeah. Okay. How about you?
No,
Headley?
but it has reminded me that we never got a Game Pass drop over the summer showcase, and I'm still annoyed
Yeah.
about that. And I hope that it happens at Gamescom.
Yep.
And if it doesn't, fuck it. I'm just gonna keep on playing all the shit that is on my backlog
Yeah, I
anyway, so
think
it doesn't really matter that much.
the thing that was on the news, well, news, quote unquote, was apparently that the deal is officially like there's no one pushing back on in the FTC anymore. Like the attorney left and all that's closed. So gonna be interesting. Maybe held off a certain few things, and maybe they pop up in Gamescom if you like the rumor mill. But yeah, Gamescom I reckon would be a nice place for those drops. Okay.
It would be. It would be.
Moving on to
Tomorrow will be a nice place for those drops. Carry on, guys.
That too.
Flight
Yeah, I
Sim.
want my Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Actually, so
Yeah, me
tomorrow.
too.
Yeah. Come on, Xbox, chop chop.
It's coming. It's coming. Deadly, all right? Calm down. Go play some friggin' Last of Us or something. Flight Sim 50 crosses 15 million player milestone. That's also quite large for a game like that I didn't actually expect to have such like so many people playing it. 15 million, that's also a large amount of people jumping in, even if it's for 30 seconds to play some flight sim. So there's some interest there. So that's interesting to me.
Flight Sim.
Anything to say about this?
My dad bought a Series S for Flight Sim when it came out.
Yeah.
Not the only game he plays. He's played two games in his life, 3 games in his life. He played Sega Rally with me one Christmas morning, drove straight into wall and decided he was never playing it again. That was when I got my Sega Saturn. He's also played Flight Sim. He loves Flight Sim. He got the console for it, and he's played all of the Halo games. And I don't know where that one came from, how those managed to draw him in and get him to play through the entirety of them, but he has done.
Respect.
So
Nothing
Isn't
but
that
respect.
crazy?
That's awesome.
Isn't that cool? That's cool. Yeah, you never know
Fucking
what
awesome.
people are. You never know what people are thinking when they jump into these places. That's why you try to put these things everywhere and as easy as you can accessible, easily accessible. Okay.
How did Flight Sim hold up on the Series S? Out of interest.
I've got no idea.
Actually
He lives
quite
in
good.
Spain. So.
Like,
Okay, fair
yeah,
enough.
quite good. I heard it's pretty good on S. It's funny because my brother, who's really into car games, jumps into Flight Sim randomly. I walk into his place. I live near him. I would hop into his place and he's just flying the plane on an autopilot. I was like, what is it? What the fuck are you doing? Anyway, so yeah, it runs quite well. He has a Series S.
Nice.
Yeah, we skimmed through already the Keystone stuff. Surprised that thing's canceled. There is an article on Windows Central that goes deeper into it, so quite cool thing. And we know why now. Just chose to save money on all that hardware stuff and just make Amazon do it.
Also serendipitous that those two stories happen to break on the same day.
Yeah,
Very
crazy,
interesting.
crazy stuff, crazy stuff. Uh, Bethesda Montreal unionizing, so that's really cool. Bethesda's taking advantage of safety, trying to staff off the crazy layoffs that's going around in the industry by unionizing. So that's an interesting thing and good for the workers there. Anything to say about this?
No, I'd say if you're in the gaming industry working in there, you know how hostile it is. If you're at a company like Microsoft that has formally said that they're going to acknowledge unions, then you should be in one. So try and make it happen.
Yeah. Anything on that, Deadly?
No, I mean, I was kind of gonna ask you on your thoughts and the wider sort of topic of unions in Canada, because I don't really know much about Canadian politics. But if you don't
We're
want to go
quite
into
good
that, that's
there.
fine. Good.
Yeah, we're quite good here.
Good.
That's why there's so many game companies here too, as well as funding for those, tax returns and all that stuff. It's good to be here. Not recently though; they're kind of trying to push some things that are weird in our government. But as of as of the past past decade, it's been pretty well. I have somebody that actually works there, so I can't really comment on anything.
Mhm.
But it's quite good. He feels happy about it, and it's always good for those dudes and stability of their workplace. All right, I'm good. We good to move on, Asa?
I am, yeah. From
Okay.
what? Is that all of the quickfire news?
Nope. There's one more. No. Oh there's two more. Okay. So Matt Booty commented on Tango closing. Speaking of unions, they didn't
Oh
have one.
yeah,
Surprise.
I missed this last week.
So he commented on that, and I think we talked about this in length, so I'm not gonna go too deep into it. I always thought that, if you lose your freaking head honcho, you speak a different language. On top of that, you're bleeding people from that studio. And you're half away across the world. It's really hard to manage a team. And I would do the same thing. And turns out Booty basically said that same thing in this little interview. Of like, there's a lot of people were gone from that thing, and they didn't have the infrastructure. They could have did something. I agree. This has been beaten to death, so I'm not going too far into it. They could have did something. They chose not to. They chose the safer path, and they closed the studio. But yeah, Matt Booty went into
As
it a little bit.
expected, and contrary to the standard Twitter narrative, the gaming business is always far more nuanced and way less black and white than people kind of just expect it to be.
Yeah.
So when they see Tango close, it's not necessarily because Hi-Fi was quote unquote a flop, which it wasn't. They've acknowledged that it was a success, but these things happen, and it's difficult, and it sucks. But yeah, Xbox have clearly talked quite a lot about tough calls being made, and this unfortunately is just another one of them.
can I just say something as well?
Yeah.
To close this off, I think, for forever we've been asking Xbox to have their foot on the pedal, and ever since they restructured, Matt Booty seems to be getting a lot more work and a lot more ideas, and they seem to be congealed a lot more, and they're really cutting off, like they're really pushing towards quality. It seems like they're going that way, right? They're trying to man the ship a little bit better, and we've always yelled at them to do that, and this is part of it. You know,
Hmm.
if you're gonna structure, you have to structure, and if you have a plan, and we're all on board, and some people aren't, and some people can't, actions have to be made. But I'm actually for whatever they're looking at. But yeah, all right, Asa,
I'm
have anything?
interested to. Sorry, I was just going to jump in with another quick angle. Sorry, Asa. I'm interested to see what happens with Microsoft's new marketing head. Did they put one in place? Marketing changed. Someone
Matt
left.
Booty, actually, multiple people. So Matt Booty's in
Yeah.
charge of something in there. I don't know what. I forgot. I don't have an actual article in front of me. But yeah, Matt Booty's in charge of something advertisement wise, and so is someone else. But yeah, they have they basically broke up the job a little bit.
Yeah. Sorry, Asa. Talk to us about Booty.
No, I don't actually have anything on that. It's
Perfect.
fine.
Perfect.
No
All
apology
right.
necessary. Mhm.
Yeah. All right. 59. I like this one. So out of the 15% of Steam users that use a controller on Steam, actually 59% of those people use an Xbox controller. So that's really cool. As well. That's a nice cute stat. I don't know what that tells us and why we care, but that's pretty cool, and Xbox is good at selling those controllers and getting them in more hands, and I wonder why. I wonder
To be
why.
fair, it's the closest thing to an official PC controller, right? Like it works with a PC.
Right.
The DualSense from
Yeah.
the PlayStation works if you plug it in and has some shenanigans. If you want to play it over Bluetooth, you've got the original Steam controller was a disaster with its haptic touchpad things. There's not a whole lot of alternatives. Like if you want to play on a PC with a controller, Xbox is definitely the go-to. There was a long period of time where people weren't happy with the change from the 360 to the Xbox One. So there was a massive like holdover period where people liked the Xbox 360 controller, but probably can't even get those anymore, short of old yellow ones from eBay. So yeah, no massive surprises that it's going there. It's a nice, comfortable controller. So
Yeah. Um one final thing. Chat, for just a heads up. That on the Matt Booty thing, okay, we have no idea who's good at their job and who's not. We have zero idea, right? All we know is that he has his job and he's being put in more places. So to me, it doesn't scream like that. To me, there's something that held him back in the past, or he's learned a great deal, and he gets results. So we'll see what's happening in the
that's
future,
funny
but
because
don't get called out yet. Yes,
you're
what's
absolutely
funny?
right in that we can't see behind the curtain and we don't know what he has and hasn't done. From outside, without that view, the perception
looks
has
like
been that
shit.
he's failed upwards.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
he's managed Xbox
Yes, he
Studios
looked like
and has
shit.
failed to
The
deliver
Liz
year on
Truss
year on
of the
year on
gaming
year on year.
industry.
And they're like, oh,
Yeah.
have more responsibility. You've done great
I
not
agree.
releasing anything. Why don't you take over Bethesda and
I
Activision?
agree. I agree, but I tend to be on the note of like I'm my job is very I'm not in that sphere, but I'm in a job that is I'm in a management area, and I've seen myself people have seen multiple people in my company that way, but in behind the curtains, it's not that person's fault in the slightest. So
Yeah.
I just tend to just be uh, I'm on the side of caution with jumping the gun.
Yeah, and the people that
labeling.
have promoted him are behind the curtain and can see what's going on. So
Yeah,
you hope
exactly.
you hope that they're making the right decision despite
We
perception
hope
from the outside.
We hope. Imagine it just burns. The whole ship just goes down and dies.
Yeah.
Congratulations,
Also worth noting
Xbox.
that
Yeah.
last showcase fucking banged, and Booty would
Yeah,
have had a
but
lot to do with that. So
well, the girl, there was this specific woman that did most of it, right? And it was part of the promotion team, right?
I mean, in terms of
I forgot her
managing
name.
the arsenal of studios
Yeah.
that Xbox has under
It's
its
true, it's
belt,
true.
like
You're right.
here's
You're
the
right.
thing: like Xbox is a series of cogs working together in harmony to drive a
Yeah.
massive corporate machine forward. Like
Mhm.
we see a snapshot of that surface.
Yeah.
We see a snapshot of that reality. I honestly, my judgment on Xbox right now is going by the showcase that they put out
Yeah.
and what their
Pretty cool.
what their road plan is, not what the last 3 years have
Hopefully,
been, 4 years have been. I don't
yeah.
know. I think they've had a pretty good run, but there's always some tit on the internet who's going to tell me otherwise.
Yeah.
So.
Tits.
I
Did
can't
you just say
criticize
tits?
anyone. I forgot to turn the lights on. There we
Oh,
go.
nice.
A little bit purple.
Speaking of failing upwards. No, I'm kidding.
There's been no upwards.
Yes, there has to be steady growth, Asa. Yeah, that's the rapid fire. And before we get into, I'm sure we have questions, right, from the audience. Isla or Asa, can you?
There's a couple of
confirm that?
questions at the moment, yes.
Okay, cool. Before we do that, can we talk about July's games on Xbox? You want to lead into that, and you do the whole shebang, Asa?
We can go through them.
What you're
I
interested
don't
in?
want to. So Gamzly always does loads of research for this. He puts loads of effort into the show to structure some topics and find some things. And he's given us a massive July release games. I've gone through and highlighted a few of the ones that I think are interesting, but I don't want to be the arbiter of what's interesting and what's not. So if you're looking through it and you're seeing any of those games that you want to talk about, then talk about them. The first one on the list, though, July 2nd, Final Fantasy XIV and Dawn Trail, the expansion. As far as I know, that Final Fantasy XIV obviously very recently came to Xbox as an online game. I think it's unavailable for a couple of days at the moment before the expansion launches, but it's coming alongside a graphics overhaul and all sorts. I don't think the game, by reputation at least, it's not doing particularly well on Xbox, but it is a big project, and Dawn Trail should hopefully light a little fire up under it, because usually when an expansion launches for an MMO, it is a big deal. So expect massive queues to get onto any of the login servers for the entirety of July, basically. But Final Fantasy XIV, you interested in that one? Gamzly, I know you've played a bunch of it.
Yeah, sorry, Chronic has been just plowing me. Sorry,
Has he?
no.
Phrasing.
Has been
What
destroying
have we
my
told you
image
about
on
that,
Discord.
Chronic? Stop it.
At least he muted the microphone for it, right?
Destroying me on Twitter, on Discord. Oh my god, I'm ruined. Yes, so Final Fantasy XIV Dawn Trail. It looks awesome. I'm super hyped to jump in. I got to level 60. I've been playing that game in the background and I haven't been talking about it. I have no idea why. I got to level 60 and I'm super excited. 50, sorry, 60. 50. I got to 50s and I'm super excited. This looks great. Did you see the, like, when you look at Dawn Trail trailer, do you see the visual upgrades in your eyes?
Yeah, straight
me
away.
too. I'm so happy. I'm so happy about that. It looks great, and I can't wait to jump in for that reason. That's one of my big reasons. I just need a different style change, you know? So yeah, I'm happy.
Good.
Anything else to say on Final Fantasy 14?
No, not from me. Deadly Headley, you're not going to play it with us, are you?
No, I'm not.
No time.
Sorry, dudes.
Massive investment of time for a game like that.
Yeah, sorry that I got caught off guard by by Chronic, but I hope that answered your question.
I'm rushed by Chronic.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
I hadn't actually watched that trailer until now.
Out,
yeah, go on.
Oh, did you not? Oh, it's
no,
it's in
I have
the,
now. It looks better than I thought. Yeah, no, I know. I was playing it on the stream while I said that. I was like, this is the first time I watched this trailer, and actually, yeah, it looks pretty cool. Looks good. Massive upgrades there.
Yeah.
That does look good. It didn't look this good before.
It didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I'm still not going to play it, but at least it looks good now.
They really cleaned up the animations and the textures and all that good stuff, and it just looks like a different game. It does remind me of how WoW kind of upgrades their graphical fidelity throughout the year and upgrades that engine a little bit. Looks like the first time they've done it to me. So yeah, it's a welcome thing for Dawn Trail to improve on. Okay, next game that I want to point out, and if you want to point out anything, you can go do that, Headley.
Mhm.
Smite 2 is releasing July 30th. Smite 2 is awesome. I love MOBAs. As you can say, this is a 3D action style MOBA. Awesome. I love Smite 1. This looks great to me. I don't know about you, Asa. What do you think about Smite 2?
You know,
Did you jump into one?
I highlighted this on the list as one that is interested to me. I didn't play one very much, but I played League of Legends with you, and I do not like click to move gameplay. Is why I haven't gone back to it. I like the concept of it. I like MOBAs, but I don't like click to move gameplay on a mouse. Smite, I can play on a controller, or I can play it like third person shooter style on a keyboard and mouse. Way more appealing to me. So if you want to get into some Smite, I will get into some Smite. Because that
Dude,
is more.
I'm ready. Yeah.
I'm not saying I'd be good,
heavy.
but
Dude, you're terrible at League, but I like carrying your
Hey,
ass for like
hey,
20 games.
you haven't won
5
since I
games.
stopped.
What? Yes, I have. Don't lie.
No,
Don't listen
you
to
haven't.
Tony. Tony doesn't fucking do shit. But yeah, doesn't know anything. He just clips out all the bad losses of mine. Huh? I hate Tony.
Yeah.
Tony, if you're listening, I hate you. How about you, Headley? You interested in Smite? Not in the least, huh? I could see by your face. You just
Not interested in Smite, but there are 2 games on this list that I am interested in.
all right. Your turn, buddy.
So they both come out on the same day. They are Dungeons of Hinterberg, which looks really, really nice. I can't remember the nationality of the studio who's working on it, but it's got it seems to pay a lot of homage to a lot of Nordic heritage and folklore. Their art style looks gorgeous as well, and generally just looks really, really interesting. Simultaneously, it is also launching alongside that comes out on July the 18th. Also on July the 18th is Flintlock: The Siege of Dawn, which looks really good. That's been shown off at the last 2 Xbox Summer Showcases. And it was the showcase just gone where Xbox revealed the release date for that. That's also launching straight into Game Pass as well. Is Dungeons of Hinterberg is also going straight into Game Pass, isn't it?
Yeah.
Lovely, eating very, very good in July then. So that's really, really cool. Yeah, excited for both of those.
I think I stand alone in not being that interested in Dungeons of Hinterberg from what I've seen of it. Flintlock, I'll give it a go, and Game Pass, so I'll try Dungeons of Hinterberg. But there's something about it, particularly when it starts showing the puzzle-based gameplay, that just puts me right off. It's got its art style, it's got some things going for it, and I say I'm only pointing out a negative opinion on it because I've heard so much positive. Everyone seems really intrigued and interested in this game. I've heard nothing but positive around it, but it doesn't do it for me personally. Another one that's come in, so I'll give one choice from the list. Is that Capcom game, Path of the Goddess, whatever it's called. That is an unusual one that I can't say definitely looks like it's going to be brilliant, but unusual is good in the gaming sphere. Unusual is good, particularly when you're in your 30s like us. I'm not. Yeah, it's one of those ones where different, you've played most games before.
No, you're in your 20s, Asa. Good for you, man.
No, fuck that shit. Yeah. He looks 50, right? He looks
Gamzly.
with his little nose.
My little wonky nose, yeah. It looks like a game that's very different to everybody else. And I look at the trailer and I cannot tell that it's going to be something that I like, but to play something that is just structured differently to other games, that is completely original, that is Capcom saying, hey, we're really successful now and we can be experimental and make something unique. Yeah, I'm happy that they've got the opportunity to make that, and I've got the opportunity to try something. If it turns out I hate it, then I hate it, but it is definitely a high point of the list.
This one is really getting a lot of love in the previews as well, so I'm really interested to figure this out. Here's a fun one that comes out. Oh, is this only PC? I could have sworn. No, sorry, I messed up. I got messed up by the title on the YouTube video. N- uh, oh my god, I can't even pronounce this Dungeon Master game. Can somebody pronounce this? Asa, pronounce
Oh, I
that
can't
game.
see it.
Dungeons
I
of
watched a
Hinterberg.
trailer.
That one.
Yeah.
Which
No.
one?
Please, the Dungeon Master one.
Oh, Nahubrex.
NAHUBEUKS.
Coward for
I
not
ain't doing that.
trying.
No, listen, Chronic's in here. He's already got a voice clip of me. All right, I'm not doing that again. So yeah, so that one, if you could put that one up on the stream. I love the look of this game. It's just this like D&D themed sim dungeon builder where I don't know if you're a big board game fan. It's like what's that game called? Dungeon Keep or something. I forgot the name of
Keep
this
is
board
definitely
game, but
easier to say.
Dungeon. um yeah, whatever. A boss. Oh, it was not at all that. It's called Boss Monster. I'm ridiculous. Boss Monster is the board game, and what you do in this board game is you build out a dungeon, and then you try to kill heroes and drag heroes to your dungeon and kill them to get their loot and all that stuff. That's how you win the game. This is similar. You build in a sim-like mechanic your dungeon, and then at some point you want to lure these heroes from the outside to go through your dungeon and kill them. And you're watching that live right now. You're kind of going, your dungeon is killing all these heroes and stuff like that. And that's the point of it. And it looks really fun.
It
I'm down.
kind of
How do
seems
you?
like Theme Hospital meets Age, and I think I'm here
Yeah,
for it. It
yeah.
looks good.
It's super cool concept, and I'm down for this. Yeah, that's the one I'm gonna point out. Anything else you want to look at?
No, I think
This is out.
so today Gamzly needs to go pretty sharply after the show, which is why we're speeding through things a little bit. There are a lot of games coming in July, and I'd give you a handy place to go and look, but I don't really know where you should look for your release dates. Just hold tight, buckle your seatbelt, see what comes out, play lots of games in July. If you don't like any of them, play games from other months that have already come out. There's loads to play. There's never a shortage of things to play. So find some things and enjoy them. We're going to move on to our community questions. Crack through those, and Gamzly can go and do the busy things that a busy Gamzly needs to do. First question is already here. It's from Pete. Do you folks buy... I'm going to go for Gamzly first, and then I'm going to pronounce it properly for the rest of us. Do you folks buy routers, or use the one supplied by your ISP? I've spent years buying decent routers, routers, in the 150 to 275 range, thinking that it gave me more control. The last free one was better. Pete, I buy my own for weird niche setup reasons. If you don't need to do anything weird, like give yourself external access to your network or anything like that, then the ones that you get from most ISPs are probably pretty adequate. What about you two? Do you go custom setup or just whatever your ISP gives you?
I'll go first, Gamzly.
Yeah, no, yeah, I just take whatever they give me. That's it.
So
much worse for that laugh.
I'm the same. I'm the same. I've just gone with the one that my ISP gave me. I did have to ask them for like a little sort of mesh extension, they call it. I'm with Virgin Media. And they're typically pretty good. I used to, back when I first started online gaming, and you were talking, when did that thing come out for the PS2? It was around about the time when SOCOM came out. That was when
Yes.
I first sort of started tinkering with playing online, and back then there was no wireless internet, so it meant sort of figuring out how I was gonna link up my. Do you remember NTL World, Asa? Going way back now. Do you not?
Oh.
Okay. I can't remember who it was before then, or after then even. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Sorry, that's really boring if you haven't been in the UK for the last 30 years. Yeah, I used to tinker with it a lot more, but I don't these days. No. But if I had the spare monies, I'd probably consider it and look at like a Wi-Fi 6 or something, which was one of the perks that came with the Amazon Fire Stick 4K Max, by the way, in case anyone's wondering.
Oh, that's the other thing. I needed a very specific router for my VR shenanigans. I needed that Wi-Fi 6E.
Router.
Well, no, because the question is being asked by Pete, so it's very definitely a router, as I'm sure Pete will confirm, and not a router.
British.
There are no routers available over here. Let's have the next question, please. Yeah, Pete, unless you've got something really specific you need to do, just stick with what you got.
Sorry if we go through these super fast. It's one of those days I just gotta rush it. So apologize to you guys.
Oh,
he's got to go and break someone else out of prison this time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can't be late for it. Very, very tight window of opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to like roll under a truck and like hold on to the bottom. There's a bunch of shit happening. Probably shouldn't have told you that.
So many mushroom people's trying to attack me. Anyway.
Oh, it took a turn.
Next one, Abdel. So, do you believe that Black Myth Wukong is money hatted by Sony? If true, I won't buy it at launch. Do either of you believe that conspiracy theory?
No.
I'll say.
No, I don't.
No.
I know. Purely because, and quick shout out to Mag on XNC, because I heard him say this and I think he's absolutely right. If Sony money hatted that, they would be screaming it from the rooftops. They would want you to know that they paid the money for it. They'd want you to know that they had advertising rights. They'd want you to know that that was the only console that you could play it on, and they would be shouting it really fucking loud. The fact that they're not tells me that they didn't pay any money for it, because they'd want the return on investment if they did.
Yeah, I definitely don't think that there is a hard money hat going on, as in a firm contractual obligation not to release the thing on Xbox. It's possible that Sony have worked with the developer to help them with their optimization and all the rest of it. And they might have, I don't know, seen Microsoft on the phone and pressed the hang up button or something, but nothing solid, nothing hard. No, I don't believe the conspiracy theory. Most likely, I reckon that game is going to hit the PlayStation 5 and eventually the Series X with an incredibly low internal rendering resolution. And they're just having a little bit of trouble. I know they haven't. I know people get a little bit upset if you say Series S, but I reckon they are just struggling with performance and optimization across the both consoles, and struggling with caring too much about the Microsoft side of it, or struggling to prioritize because they are not a massive studio as it goes. It'll come and hopefully be a really good game, but
yep, I've talked about it a lot in a ton of other places, and I don't know, it's a little tiring. Yeah, I don't think so.
All right. It's one of those things where you look at the like the visual makeup of the game, and you can see that they've aimed really, really high in Unreal Engine 5, and we know that that causes problems on both the consoles in terms of what you can squeeze out of them. I think that's as deep as it goes, honestly. So, C4 Skills, what new games do you know will be at Gamescom? I don't know anything about anything. I would not claim to know things that I don't. But are there any that you two have that you're anticipating seeing there?
We can. What new games you know will be at Gamescom? If you're talking on the show floor, that nobody's played before, I'm pretty sure they've announced that what's gonna kind of be at Gamescom already, and those are all new games that nobody's seen. Well, we've seen in announced trailers and stuff, but people are going to get hands-on with it and probably deeper dives with it. So that information's out there already, but you can probably bet maybe on some Game Pass stuff. Who knows? But we definitely do not know. So sorry about that.
Has anything been confirmed in terms of what will be? They like nothing's teased, nothing sort of. What have they said? Or nothing.
Well, they said that there will be specific games there already somewhere, but that's
that's they talked a little bit about what's going to be on the floor for the public to go and access and play and things like that. But there is a separation because they do the kind of showcase thing, and it's lighter than the summer kind of E3 equivalent one. But there is usually something of an event and something that they'll want to talk about. It could be Towerborn. Maybe we'll see more of Clockwork Revolution, things like that. Like we know they've got a pocket full or a load of stuff up their sleeve. But
I think at the risk of sort of sounding like someone hoping for a secret showcase, I hope that Game Pass drop comes, but that seems to be a sort of mythical unicorn that Xbox fans keep asking for, and that need and want hasn't been satiated yet. But I think it should come at some point, and hopefully games, either Gamescom or I don't know, maybe the Keighleys. I'd rather Xbox own that opportunity rather than drop it at the Keighleys, to be fair. But I don't know. It would be quite nice to see that. I would like to see Stalker 2 running again, but it's going to be so close to launch at that point that it's probably not worth carving out that vertical slice. And the only reason why I ask that is because it showed up at Gamescom last year and was a little bit rough around the edges. So I'd really like to get a hands-on impression from somebody to go, okay, cool, this is a step up from where we were. But again, it's going to be less than a month out from launch at that point. So I don't think a vertical slice is going to be the priority for that team.
Yeah. We have presumably one more question. We'll try and whiz through it quickly so Gamzly can get off. But this is actually, it was an almost topic. We had it on the list to fall back on if we needed to. It is Forza Horizon 4. It's getting delisted later this year. Questions: do you think that it's time that we got a lasting solution to delisting games, a lasting solution to stop games from vanishing for all time, so we can still access them in some way or another?
That's really sad.
It is
That's
really
really
sad.
disappointing. That's really sad. That was the UK one as well, wasn't it?
Yep.
That sucks. That's not even that old.
Some people prefer it to 5 still.
It's a music thing, isn't it?
I think there's music licensing and there's car licensing, so it's definitely a licensing thing.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, this is going to be a problem for a lot of this licensed stuff. It's always been a problem for licensed stuff. So, yeah, that's unfortunate. I don't have, like, to answer the question. I don't have a solution because we obviously haven't found a good way to do it yet in a sustainable manner, I guess.
So we have.
If Microsoft has been trying to preserve things.
I'll show you the method that we discovered to do it that's nice and sustainable, Gamzly.
What?
Disc.
Put a lot of money?
No, it's a disc.
Oh, it's a disc.
This is the fair argument that people have about it, because it's a consequence of the whole movement to digital non-ownership, right? And for me, it's not a battle that I personally fight or have a big stake in. I've seen games that I've wanted to play disappear for many, many years. It's kind of a thing that I surrendered. My take on it usually is if we're getting something in return for the shift to digital, then I'm all for it. If we're not getting anything in return, if we're just losing games and gaining nothing, then I think you should kind of be a bit mad about it. I respect the people that argue for physical. I'm not one of them. I don't care for physical, and but realistically, I was never going to go back to Forza Horizon 4, so I'm not going to get all upset and emotional about it. But I do respect the people that are upset about it and their reasons for it. I'm not one of these people that will just dismiss them, be like, "Oh, you're just out of date and silly," whatever. Like it's a valid thing to be upset about if it means something to you, basically.
Yeah, it is. Pete raises a good point to say. So delisted means that you can buy it and you can still download it if you've bought it. But the question for me would be, what if you're on Game Pass? So what happens if you want to play that? You've previously accessed that via Game Pass. Is that option just gone for you now? Because okay, I'm not attached to it either, but it still sucks.
Mm-hmm. It does.
I'm pretty sure it works like every. Dog's hungry. I'm pretty sure that it works like the Android stuff, right? Or PSN stuff or whatever. If you have it downloaded on your drive, you could basically access it, right? Am
I
I
doubt
wrong
it.
in
No, I would think
assuming?
not. Normally, so the
No,
Game
not
Pass
even
stuff
on
does a
this.
license check. So if it's taken off of the Game Pass service and you've got it on your
Oh,
hard drive, it's still going to license check.
okay.
You
My
would need to
bad.
buy
I
that
understand.
before it is delisted.
Okay, I understand. That's
Mm.
sad.
Gregor Proof has added some helpful context in the article.
Well, they are giving a token for
I
it.
haven't read the article. But yeah, so okay. It's nice to know that there's a workaround there.
And credit where it's due. That is taking a step more than you would expect Microsoft to do.
Generous, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that sucks, and but also shout out to Microsoft, which is not even a shout out because they're pushing that way, but shout out to them for trying to double down on trying to make them accessible and all that stuff for as long as possible. But yeah. Okay. Anything else?
No, because you've got 4 minutes left until your emergency hard deadline. Have to leave and save
Yeah,
the
I need
world
to
and bust
get the
someone
hell
out of prison.
I gotta get the hell out of here.
So on that note, Gamzly, hope you've had a good time,
sir.
despite some awful things that you said through the duration of the show. Tell people what you're up to, where they can find you. Don't
First
say anything
off,
awful.
all right, stop projecting. You
uh-oh.
attacked me
He's gonna do it.
first. All right, look at me in the face. No, I'm kidding. I love you guys. This was awesome. This was a fun time. Thank you, Deadly, for finally crawling out of your Last of Us cave and showing up for this podcast.
I'm going straight back in it after this, bro. Sorry.
It's always a pleasure to have you here, man. You were missed. All right, so to find out where I'm gonna be hopping on next or what podcast I'm gonna be hopping on, follow me at Gamzly TKD on X. Every Thursday you can find me right here on the Xbox Series podcast on the Gaming Arcadia YouTube channel every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern time, best time. Don't wonder about any other time. And on Double Barrel Gaming for every lunchtime on Mondays for that show. So that's all I got. And on our Discord, go do that. Hit the like, hit the sub on the YouTube channel right now. Please, it helps out. We have a great
Fuck me,
community.
Gamzly. I asked you to say goodbye, not give us your life story. You're the one in a rush. Deadly Headley.
Hate you.
How's it going? Tell people where they can find you.
Guys. I've missed you guys. I really have. This has been a really fun show. As always, you can find me here every Thursday. Please make sure that you hit the like button on the way out because it does so much for helping grow the channel and grow the show and get more visibility and all that sort of thing. You can find me on Twitter as well at deadlyheadley_. You can also find me on YouTube. Please go and do that. I'm trying to make my way to 1,000 subscribers by the middle of July. I'm yet to put out more content since I was last here. But I've been busy and I promise you I'm working on it. But please go and subscribe and watch and like and do all of those things. Very proud of my content. It's all Xbox focused news and reviews and things like that. And I put a lot of focus into production value and the writing quality, all that sort of thing. So yeah, go and show that some love if you haven't already. That's it. You can find me here every Thursday, 8 p.m. UK time, 12 p.m. Pacific, and whatever stupid time frame Gamzly lives in. Fuck that guy. One last thing from me. If you're in the UK, please make sure that you go and vote next Thursday and tell the government to go and fucking do one. That's all the politics I'm bringing to this one. Thank you very much.
Very good. I also am around. I'm on Twitter. I don't use it. Don't follow me there. It's not worth it. You can find me on this channel on the Xbox Series podcast. Obviously, that's every Thursday. Q&As are on a Saturday, and the Arcadia Roundtable will be back next week on a Tuesday as well. I also stream the games on the Asa Games YouTube channel. Those are all the things. Subscribe to Deadly Headley if you haven't already. And we will see you next time. Thank you for coming through again. Always appreciated.
Good night, everybody.